Okay, we're going to talk about sickness now. So this is my effort to make a close-up of this. Okay, so here we are. We're convinced the whole physical universe is in here with us. And we think that that's all there is. We don't know that there's a thought system, a mind, in which this body self is a puppet. Basically, this is dancing on these strings of sin. Separation happened. So this is a sick thought system. So don't think if your body seems to be in wonderful health that you're any different from somebody who has severe migraines or diabetes or heart disease or mental illness or dementia or whatever it is. The mind coming from here is going to set up the body to use illness in some way. Because what does illness do? It makes that body real. Boy, does it make it real, especially pain. That's the purpose of pain. Pain and pleasure have the same, the pleasure you find in the world does the same thing. A heart attack or an orgasm, it doesn't matter. They're both the body real. So one of the things that we do when we observe, Ken Wapnick has said that you could reduce all of 365 lessons in the workbook to 2. One is lesson 5. I'm never upset for the reason I think. And lesson 34, I could see peace instead of this. So if we paraphrase that, we say, I am never sick for the reason I think. So I may think my sickness comes from trauma or, something that happened to me as a child or some predisposition in my genetic makeup. It may come because I was exposed to some microbe by being with these other people and they got sick and so then I got sick. It can be because I was under so much stress and my immune system was run down and blah, 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 blah. We have all of our reasons for why the body is getting sick. And because everybody wants to have the right to get sick, because sickness is a great thing to put in your hip pocket. Everybody needs to be sick sometimes, right? It's the excuse why you don't go to school, then it's the excuse why you don't go to work, then it's the excuse why you don't go to a family gathering. And because everybody else wants to have the same excuse, they buy it. They buy it when you say, oh, I'm so sorry, I just was feeling terrible, I couldn't come. So we lie to each other constantly, but we use sickness as one of our main tools of being a human being. There's a wonderful workbook lesson. I rule my mind, which I alone must rule. I rule my mind. And it also says awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers. So we're trying to get back here to this butterfly awareness here. The awareness, I'm doing the whole thing. I picked my body, I picked my parents, I picked my culture, I picked my disabilities, I picked my victim stories, I crafted the whole thing. I'm Shakespeare pretending to be a little character on the stage. But I set up the whole thing. Now there's another script, because the Holy Spirit, the butterfly part of us, can take anything that we've made here on the screen. Once it's on the screen, it's neutral. It's not anything. It's just an image that's appearing, an image of being sick, and can use it for a different purpose. So sickness, instead of being a defense against the truth, as lesson 136 says, and that's a fascinating lesson when you're studying sickness and trying to figure out, why you would have picked a sick body or, this symptom or that symptom or whatever. And it says, when truth comes, and truth is the light in us, the peace in us. I could see peace instead of this. Oh, damn it, I don't want to see peace instead of this. So I'll make my body sick. I mean, I've got all my mechanisms all built in since childhood. I get sick this way a lot, I get sick that way a lot. And you just kick in a symptom that's handy, and that you're you're used to dealing with, and then you go around and you get your special medicines, or you find your special doctor, or whatever it is. It's all a game. You're doing the whole damn thing. You're lying to yourself. People don't want to hear. So being born is a defense against the truth, right? You know, becoming a caterpillar is a defense against your butterfly nature. So there's nothing special or unique or bad about being sick, or if you make sickness a way of life. We all do to some extent or another. Everybody's got their weaknesses, their victim stories that are going on. So instead of this being a defense where you watch the contraction, that's the first thing you do. You see yourself contract into the illness, the headache, the coma, the seizure, the what?
Sore throat.
The sore throat, yes. Have you got a sore throat today?
No.
But you've had it other days, right? So instead of that being a defense that we use against the truth, it can become a doorway. So you're watching, you watch the body get sick, and you don't judge it. You say, that's my mind. I'm doing this. I'm choosing this headache. I'm choosing this diabetes. I'm choosing my chilblains. I'm choosing my cancer. I'm choosing my heart attack. And I have a purpose for it. And so you observe the small self, because as you align with the higher self, you realize you're not this body. So, you know, if the body dies, big woohoo. You know, it's no big deal. It just isn't. You just stop taking it so seriously. That's the thing about, you know, medicine. We take everything very seriously. And you watch the ego at work. The ego always breaks everything into pieces. And so you have all these specialties. Recently I went past a veterinary skin diseases. There's a big clinic up in someplace or another with veterinary skin diseases. That's all they do, is they look at animals with skin diseases. They don't look at anything else. And you have PhDs who get a PhD in the inner ear of the brown titmouse, whatever. We specialize. So each of us specializes in our own body, and we know how to make it sick in a convenient way. And it gets our needs met. So you watch that. And eventually, when you watch enough, you really start to smile. You say, man, am I crazy? Why do I keep doing this? It's really not any fun. But you have to see it enough times. Ken Wapnick would always say, you have to see it until you become nauseated. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. When you really don't want to do it anymore, you'll stop doing it. Or maybe you'll switch symptoms. You know, you'll switch to a symptom that's more manageable, fits into your life better, and doesn't call everything to a halt. So instead of being a defense, this can be a doorway. And that's when you do your asking. You ask to see it differently. First you ask to see how you set the whole thing up. You start to take an inventory of, how does this help me to get this particular illness? Where have I used it? What is the secondary benefits of this particular illness? You know, when I was a child, did I get more attention from my family? Also, the Course tells us that any time that you get sick, you're saying to somebody, maybe you're saying it to your parent who's long dead, or maybe you're saying it to the person you're living with, behold me, at your hands I suffer from this, whatever. It's impossible to avoid that. You think, oh, no, I don't want to blame my partner for my sickness. Well, guess what? The ego is always saying, it's not my fault, it's your fault. It's the microbe's fault. It's my genetic makeup fault. It's this stressful world that I live in's fault. It's the stressful person that I live with's fault. It's the dead guy's fault. Right? And so this very thing which is shrieking at you and making you feel intense pain in order to keep your person, because what this is doing is the ego fears if you start being peaceful, if you start going out here, you're going to lose this personal self. That's what it's afraid of. That's its pearl of great price, is that personal self. That's its jewel in the lotus, is the personal self, the body self. And it does not want you laughing at it, or so I'll show you this is serious, and then wham comes your contraction of illness, whatever it is. But in another way, you can look at it as your own call for love. Your own call for the love that you've been shutting out. If you think of this as a shell in an ocean of awareness, an ocean of peace, an ocean of presence. And here we are locked in this shell of time and space and form, in this shell of sin with this thought system here. And we're a shell in an ocean of being, and we're all ocean deniers. We're denying that there is an ocean. No ocean. No shell either. I mean, this is just the world. This is reality. So you can use anything to let the light in. And your willingness to be in alignment with this starts to make holes, and the light starts coming in to here. And it's the light, it's the observing. It's just like when cameras had film in them. If you let the light in the camera, the film starts to fade. So these images of sin are going to start to fade. And, that's going to start. There's going to be less and less and less of this. And you're going to be in that state of alignment with your higher mind. And then there begins to be, and you recognize that there begins to be a flow to your everyday life. And you recognize when, there's a contraction, and you say, oh, I got afraid. So it's no big deal. You don't judge it. I got afraid, so making the body sick. And then the sickness can be a wonderful time of just resting, being away from the grind or the noise or the whatever is going on normally in your daily life. And sometimes we need to be quiet. We need to just rest. So a good cold is perfect for that. and just respect that. Know that the Holy Spirit can use, your own higher wisdom can use your illness for a better purpose. And I have a song called I Am a Window, which is all about this idea. I'm a window and the light is starting to come through. So I can use anything in my life as a window. Any terrible set of circumstances can become a window for that light if you look at it mindfully without judging it. That lets the light in. So that kind of combines sickness and meditation.
So first of all, this is part of the reason why the ego loves sickness so much. My doctor told me that when I'm in pain and I have a migraine, my brain is releasing dopamine, which gives me a high, and I'm addicted to that, just like if I was taking an opioid or something like that. And I thought, wow, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one thing that it's like your ego is saying, you love this high, and that's why you're sick.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and the other thing I wanted to say is kind of a question. I used to be really upset that I had migraines all the time. I've had them since I was 13. And I used to be really upset about it. And then over time, especially when I became a course student, I started realizing that I can be in worse pain than I used to be, but really feel okay with it, feel at peace, feel okay with if all I can do is get out of bed and sit in my recliner today, watch a little TV, that's all right, that's my day. And I feel like I've come a long way with accepting it and feeling peace. So is that me letting the light in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You could see upset instead of this. You could be feeling sorry for yourself and feeling suicidal and complaining to everybody and calling everybody up and complaining to your doctor that they didn't do what they said that they were going to do. And instead you're peacefully just being with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how you can handle it. Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Anybody else on sickness? This would go for emotional things too. Yeah.
No, I thought
No?
that was just it, yeah.
Yeah. So I've told the story before of where the I am a window comes from, but I'll tell it again. I had my first hip replacement, 2008, I guess it was, and I'd never had any surgery before. I didn't know what you were supposed to do. I knew that I would be not able to take care of myself. I live in a house with stairs, and I knew I wouldn't be able to take care of myself for a few days after. So I decided to go the route of going to a nursing home for a few days. And some friends helped me to pick this particular one. I didn't know it at the time, but they didn't approve of that particular one that I chose. But they respected my choice, and so I went there. And so I had my surgery like on a Thursday, and so this was Friday through Sunday that I was there. And like most nursing homes, this one was pretty much understaffed. They had difficulty finding people to do these jobs that don't pay very well. So in the middle of the night, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, a nurse came in and she was distributing meds. And I was supposed to have a pain pill. Well, she comes over to my bed, and there's a lot of pain involved with a hip replacement. And I had finally I wasn't able to sleep, but I'd finally gotten sort of comfortable. And so she came in and she said, "I need to look at your wound." Which of course she didn't, but I didn't know. And so she made me she grabbed me, pulled me over. It was like excruciating. And then she got mad at me for making a sound, and because I had a roommate there, she didn't want to wake that person up. So she looked at the wound, and then she said, "Do you want a pain pill?" And I said, "Well, yeah." Well, she went away, and she did not come back. So something in her was feeling resentful, and it felt better to her to cause me pain. I don't know if she, why she resented it or whatever. Maybe I reminded her of her mother or something. Anyway, that's what she was doing. And it was like 5 or 6 hours later when I kept sending somebody, and finally somebody came back and brought me a pill. So I was laying there and I was realizing, I chose this, feeling this pain. I knew not to have any resentment toward her whatsoever. I knew that I had set this situation in motion. It was my dream. I was dreaming this person who seemed to be causing me pain. And, a nursing home to somebody who hasn't lived in one or visited one very much is kind of an overwhelming experience. There's people crying out, "Help me, help me, help me," all day long, or there are people who never get visited, or it's just it seemed like a place full of very wounded people, very lonely people, very isolated people, felt cut off from their families. And then the nursing staff was variable as to how friendly they were or how kind they were, and they were stressed out. And so I'm laying there and I'm realizing I'm choosing this. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing this. And I don't think that this is a kind of meditation. This is one of the things you do in meditation. This is my observe it. And then all of a sudden, there was a shift, and I saw underneath all the cries for help, all the stressed out, wounded, old, suffering people, I can't hardly put it into words, but I felt the peace of Christ, the light of Christ underneath all of that. And I cried for the next 2 days because I thought, I gave that up. I gave up that peace in order to be in this world of wounded bodies. And it really touched my heart. So anything can be a window. That was my window. That experience of pain became my window for the light coming in. So